newspaper, you'll see in the corner a big ad from Barcelona, which I mentioned. And that's from, it's not from Barcelona, it's from the Jerusalem Link, which is Barcelona with the Palestinian Jerusalem Women's Center. And together it's a message of peace.
I have a question. Do they refuse to be on a visa?
We have a lot of people who come to express their point of view, not always politely. When we're trying to express ours, we try not to power up that at the same time.
The only thing is that you're killing us.
What else can I tell you besides peace? Good.
השמאל הורג אותנו בכפי שהולכים, זה הבעיה. הבעיה שהשמאלנים הם הורגים אותנו. It's your politics that are killing us.
I can assure you that what you said
It's your politics that are killing us.
the opposite.
It's your politics that are killing us. It's your politics that are killing us.
Instead of persuading them, you're making them angry.
If you would like to give us the other cheek, then why don't you just become Christian? You don't represent the Jewish people, and you don't represent sorry. This woman does not represent the Jewish
That's a
people.
great question. What signs of hope I have? I'm
This
glad you asked
people,
because
this woman does not
hopeful.
represent the Jewish people.
There are two
This
levels
woman is a traitor,
of what's going on
and she is to
today
be
in
treated as
Israeli society. There's a level which is
This woman does not represent the Jewish people.
on behalf of a military solution. It's inevitable. And this is despite the fact that there's this frenzy going on at this time. More than half the Israelis will tell you that Palestinian settlements must be dismantled. Some will tell you all of them, some will tell you some of them, but the principle has been established. The settlements must be eliminated, must be dismantled. The Israelis must be encouraged to return to the borders of Israel.
The women in black represent only the homosexuals and the lesbians.
Right. For all my critique of Ehud Barak and all the damage he's done by his distorted spin of what took place at Camp David, I have to tip my hat to him for putting Jerusalem on the table for negotiation. He was the first prime minister who said, let's figure something out. And for that, he should be blessed. Today, everyone understands we have to figure something out about Jerusalem. We may end up not calling it negotiation, but we will be negotiating over Jerusalem. Idealistic concept. I can't imagine that it would actually take place. There's too much heart grief over the settlements. I don't think there's a chance in hell that we could actually ask the settlers to open their hearts and understand that someone else will live in their home, even though we will be compensating them for the financial loss of moving back into Israel. I just want to tell you that the reason they're acting out this way is because they are in the minority. It's a fanatic fringe. I'm sorry, I'm glad to say that even in mainstream Israeli circles, they're regarded as racists. At least I'm glad that they're acknowledged to be such by mainstream Israelis, even though we ourselves are guilty of a lot of less blatant racism.
They are not well. They are not well. They have even trusted Christians.
Oh
They're
yeah.
not giving their own cheek.
Let me say that part of the solution is right here in Israel, and what we can do as Israeli peace activists. But a big part of the solution is what you can do abroad, especially in the United States. You know, this morning George W. Bush backtracked on his accusations of Arik Sharon being aggressive. Now he's calling him a man of peace. You'll see it on the same front page. Please write to all your elected officials. Tell them stop supporting aggressiveness by any party, and certainly by the United States. The United States has a moral obligation to control the use of its arms in the Middle East. Whether you say these arms should not be sent here at all, or you say there must be conditions upon these arms, it's agreed by everybody that the arms must not be used for what they have been used in the last 2 weeks in the West Bank. Oh yeah. 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 If you ask me, that it's not only the Americans who have to speak up. In particular, it's American Jews. Those of you who are Jewish, it is your Jewish moral obligation to speak out against occupation. God does not want us to be doing what we have been doing over the past 35 years. I mean, I can't speak for God, but
Your heart.
Someone recently said if there's anything that this war has proved, it's that there is no goddess. But But anyway, maybe that's wrong too. I think that's for every person to decide. But it clearly means to me that if aid comes to Israel, it has to come with a condition. We're giving you $3 billion of arms. Well, a year annually. There's no reason why you shouldn't have some say over that not being used for aggressive purposes. I'm not even saying it shouldn't be used, shouldn't be sent at all, but put conditions down on it.
But you know, peace happens in the United States. He started a petition on his where are the Jewish people? No arms sent to money sent to Israel unless it is used for peaceful defense.
Great. That's a great petition. I'm afraid that other petitions, well, I don't understand really the American sentiment, but I think that it probably would go against halting all arms to Israel. Perhaps a better strategy is to talk about putting conditions on those arms. Months has been standing up of now over 400 officers in the Reserve Army who have said we cannot serve this occupation. This occupation has integral part of it is war crimes by the Israeli army, and we refuse to participate in that. To me, that's a very Jewish point of view. To my mind, the best thing that Jews can do is to encourage that kind of point of view. It's a point of view that says peace, coexistence, living side by side, justice for both sides. To me, that's Jewish. Our Knesset members are also in a frenzy. I'm sorry, I'm repeating things I said to you.
No, it's on me.
Our Knesset members are in the same patriotic frenzy as their constituents. You've seen it now in the United States over Afghanistan. You had only one courageous congresswoman stand up and say, don't kill the people in Afghanistan. Well, we have a handful of Israeli Knesset members who say this. Our job is to give them the support that they need, because if we don't support them, nobody else is going to. So not only do we talk to them about it, they come to all of our actions. There will always be Knesset members at our actions. And we also give them platforms from which to speak, because if we don't let them speak, where are they going to speak? In the Knesset, where they're jeered and catcalled out of the assembly room? So,
About how many Knesset members are at least trying to, in the last 2 weeks, or in the recent period, trying to stop the, ceasefire or occupation?
it's hard to say. Also, some of them agree with us, but speak only inside their private rooms to other Knesset members. I wouldn't even venture a guess. Shulamit Aloni was one of the founders of the civil rights movement in Israel, a woman who started her own party and has been very outspoken in support of our group. She has come to all of our demonstrations and spoken out. She's no longer in the Knesset, but she has been a very eloquent spokeswoman on behalf of Jews. Good. Nomi Chazan has also been one of the few in her party, which is like the Greens party in Israel, one of the few who has outspokenly said she supports the reserve officers who refuse to do service. So, Nomi,
which woman is in the Knesset now?
she's in the Knesset.
Any other woman?
Yeah, there are many good women in the Knesset.
How many?
There are about 15 women in the Knesset, if I remember correctly. Some of them are on the right wing, but most of them are on the left wing. Sorry. Kahana? Yeah. Okay. So these guys are supporters of the Rabbi Kahana movement that he started. It was outlawed in Israel as racist movement. It was called Kach. And then they renamed it and they continued the movement. Now it's called Kahana Chai, which his name was Kahana. Kahana Chai is like Kahana still lives. They also are affiliated with several fringe parties. One of them is the Moledet party. Moledet means homeland. It's racist, just as the rabbi was racist. He believes that Israel should be Palestine Reich, pure of all Palestinians and other Gentile foreigners. So that's been what he has advocated. One of the Knesset members from that party was, the Ze'evi, the Minister of Tourism, was assassinated this year. by Palestinians. Well, that's the party that these people support. And the man who replaced him was actually here at the vigil today, giving them his support. So transfer in Israel is the code word for transferring Arabs out of Israel, transferring them out of the West Bank. It's a belief that a greater land of Israel should belong entirely and exclusively to Jews. Tourism serves that purpose, right? Right now, there's a very problematic situation that he and his party have been pushing for in East Jerusalem. There are about 5 families, I forget the exact number, but a handful of families, Palestinian families who own homes, and this Knesset member has come and demanded that they be evacuated and replaced with...
Spend the night.
Oh, okay. Who did it? Who spent the night there? Oh, great. How many families are there?
Well, there's 3 houses. 2 homes, and one has 3 families in it.
What do I think it'll take to end the occupation?
I guess what's been happening the last 3 weeks for withdrawal.
The army is withdrawing. The army is withdrawing, but it's not withdrawing entirely. It's just staying right outside the cities. You can wipe off your maps the old concept of areas A, B, and C. They are no longer relevant because Sharon wants to remain right outside those cities.
My question is, what will it take for an end to the occupation? I mean, everybody's saying this needs to end. What is it going to take?
First of all, let me say that we're headed in the right direction. Even though there's an enormous amount of nationalist fervor at this time, there's growing understanding that we can't hold on to that land forever. The settlers had at one time been demonized in Israeli culture, thought of as crazy religious fanatics who are getting us, who are endangering our lives. But thanks to Palestinian terrorism, which attacked the settlements as well, they were resurrected as victims of terrorism. So, as you can hear, terrorism hurts everybody in every single direction. Terrorism of the Palestinians as well as terrorism by some of our soldiers and sometimes of the army. So we have to prevent that from happening on both sides. The settlements are today, again, going back to being understood as a liability, not an asset. They were originally settled with the thought of being somehow something to help the security of Israel, some buffer zone or something that will keep tabs on their Palestinian neighbors. That is clearly no longer the case. You cannot make a security argument for keeping the settlements. So what argument can you make? You can make a biblical argument, but it will not convince most Israelis if you make a biblical argument. Now it's a matter of figuring out how the politicians who support it can get down off of that high tree that they climbed up on that said, we can't give in to violence, and get them to give in to violence and move out of the territories.
The other more liberal or maybe left-wing.
The question is are the right-wing parties sabotaging efforts of the rest of us to make peace? Because of the need for a coalition government. Right now, of course, we have an extreme right-wing government, and we have a Labour Party in there which is collaborating in the original sense, ugly sense of the word. Part of our strategy is to get the Labour government to leave. Because if the Labour government will leave, it will be an important statement to Israelis saying it is untenable even for us who have gone along with so many terrible things, with so many atrocities in our name. Even for us, it has become untenable to sit in that government. So we're working very hard to get the Labour government to leave, and at the same time to find an alternative to the Labour government leader who will run as head of the Labour government in the next election. Because he's not a vast improvement on Arik Sharon. He is qualitatively better. I mean, it's hard to be in the same league as Arik Sharon. But he still is not the man, I don't think, he's not the man who's going to say, okay, I'm going to forget the fact that I was a general and a military man all my life, and I'm somehow going to figure out how to be a peacemaker after spending all those years honing my skills as a war maker. Pardon? His name is Ben Eliezer. His nickname is Fuad. Eliezer, Ben Eliezer.
The Labour Party needs a lot more than
I
dissolve the government.
The Labour Party will force the election only when it feels that it's well positioned enough to win in the election. So it won't necessarily. Ordinarily, when a government breaks up, it's because the party that leaves it says, I think I can win in the next election. But we have a slightly different situation here. We have a very, very weak Labour Party. And the only reason it will say to itself that it should leave is not because of something immoral that's happening. If they wanted to leave over moral issues, they would have left a long time ago. The only reason they'll leave is because they're saying to themselves, we have to leave in order to build up our constituency so that when we do bring down the government by calling for a vote of no confidence, we will have enough people who will elect us in the next election. So they have to leave the government with enough time to work on building up a constituency to support them. And that's not going to happen overnight. A number of figures have been mentioned. One of the more prominent figures is Yossi Beilin. Beilin is is the main opposition to Labour remaining in the government. Yossi Beilin, though, as wonderful and as smart and as inspiring as he is to people like me, is a non-starter in terms of elections. He can't be elected. He's the Adlai Stevenson of Israel. Too smart for us. Too good for us. So I don't think, and he himself knows that he's not electable. Another man who has pretensions to the throne is Yossi Sarid, who heads the Meretz party. He's the Greens party spokesman. And he wouldn't be terrible. I mean, he's not my first choice in a lot of ways. But I also don't think he's electable because he comes from a party that's not one of the two big mainstream parties. How many people would vote for him? Of course, if he works together in a coalition with Yossi Sarid, with Yossi Beilin, if the two Yossis work together, there's more hope. Now, there is one other person that I think is really electable and really has a really good chance, and that is Avraham Burg, B-U-R-G. He's a member, he's right now the Speaker of the Knesset, and he's a member of the Labour Party. He's been someone who's espoused a dovish line for as long as I know him, which is many years. He's progressive on all levels, he's a feminist, he has a great wife who pushes him in the right way. And he can be educated on some of the issues in which he needs consciousness raising. What he lacks, his strongest suit is that he's religious. He wears a kippah and he speaks always drawing upon the Jewish sources. He's also one of the most eloquent and articulate people that I know. And so when he stands there and draws on the Jewish sources and speaks on behalf of ending the occupation, speaks on behalf of the vision of a better Israel, he's very, very persuasive. So I am hopeful that if a man like Avraham Burg does get elected, he's from the Labour Party, he would carry a lot of votes with him, that would be a really good chance to end the occupation.